Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Shri Gupta Govardhan and Govardhan pilgrimage ki Jai.
Yes, he is. Hare Krishna. Yes, there's a famous line. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Nartan Thakur said, Yatai Vaishnavagan Vrindavan Seistan. Wherever the Vaishnavas are assembled in glorification of the Supreme Lord, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Radha Govinda, and their divine associates, Vrindavan says that place is Vrindavan. So invoking that blessing, and in light of the Giriraj Govardhan and tonight's celebration of Govardhan, the slok of Raghunath Das Goswami is appropriate, as intoned by our Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. Nam Srestam Manumapi Sachiputra Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Graja Madhupurim Matarim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Giribaramaho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Jasya Pratita Kripaya Sri Gurun Tanmatosmi. Hey Sri Guru Jnananadina Bandhu Swananda Datta Karunaika Sindhu. Hey Sri Guru Jnananadina Bandhu Swananda Datta Karunaika Sindhu. Vrindavanashina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara Dena Bandhu Karunaika Sindhu Kuru Prasidam Mahimam Namure Lakshavaradhe Gopavaradhe Tatpada Padanestu Matista Krishne Tatpada Padanestu Matista Krishne Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Divyachchavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So Srila Gurudev in Govardhan, he liked, as indicated in his Arati song, he liked to, he would meditate on Raghunath Das Goswami and the pastimes of Das Goswami, the sayings of Das Goswami, the slokas of Das Goswami. And that portion of Charitamritam describing Raghunath Das's coming to the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, Gurudev could sing, recite the whole section by heart. And he did on more than one occasion. But of particular note were the lines where it said, Indra Aiswarja Sama, Sri Apsara Sama, that he possessed. This is said by the father of Das Goswami when his mother is thinking, because of his repeated attempts to escape home and family life and take permanent shelter in the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, she's thinking to her husband, Prabhu, maybe we should bind him, tie him to a pillar or something like that. And the father saying, Sri Aiswarja Sama, he has a wife who's more beautiful than an Apsara, the legendary goddesses of heaven. And Indra Aiswarja Sama. And he's got wealth equal to Indra. We heard about Indra today. He's saying he's got, so the wealth of Indra, a wife more beautiful than an Apsara. If that cannot bind him, then what good will your ropes or chains do? He says, for someone who's become a madman for Gauranga Chandra. And we understand, I mean, although Mahaprabhu did say some teasing things about Das Goswami's relatives, horrible things. I mean, horribly humorous, humorously horrible. And he said, don't, we're family, so I can say these things. And I'm not going to repeat them on this August occasion, but they are from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Dev. He's like poking a little bit about family attachment and things like that. And in a very, I think, sweet and affectionate way, but very cutting at the same time. And we know, of course, that Raghunath Das Goswami, he's the personification of renunciation, right? So when Govardhan has some special significance in his writings and his expression, the Govardhan Giriraj was given by Mahaprabhu to Das Goswami. That is of significance. He's expressing that our ultimate aspiration is to have the service of Govardhan. What is it? Sri Sachinandanena Korunit. Yeah. Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. It's just so beautiful, his writings, and particularly in glorification of Giriraj Govardhan. And just as Madhusudan, I want you to speak and begin our journey in a minute, but just to say that, so Das Goswami, after Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar left Puri, he could find no reason to go on living, as expressed in his Bilap Kusumanchali sloka, Ashavare Amrita Sindhamai Katanchit, Kalo Mayati Gamita Kilasam Patam Hi, Tam Chet Kripam Mayavidasha Shinaiva Kimme, Prane Brajena Chabaroru Bakarinapi, where he said, my aspiration is the service of your holy lotus feet. Guru Maharaj says it's a direct prayer to Radharani. But what is causing this to be expressed at this time is the absence of Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar. Right? So Radha Baba Juti Subalita Nome Krishna Swarupam. And he's thinking, so my life no longer has any meaning. So I'll go to Govardhan, Radha Kunda, have the darshan of those holy places, and then throw myself from Govardhan and finish this life. But then we're told when he arrives there, he sees Rup and Sanatan, and he thinks, oh, Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar are within them, so I have a reason to go on living. And it's there that he transfers the wealth of Swarup Damodar from his notes and Das Goswami's own notes, the fluffed out notes of Das Goswami that form the basis of Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam. So Maharaj, how shall we begin our parikrama today?
Well, Maharaj, how we shall begin with some Sankirtan. But just before the Sankirtan, we can just locate ourselves for everybody. That is that as is done in Vrindavan, means in Govardhan, at our temple there, then the morning time is the time for the Abhishek, everybody coming and giving their offering of yogurt, milk, as it is that that's handed to them to pour over Giriraj, Anu Giriraj. And then the morning is lots of kirtan and harikatha, and then a feast, of course, the very famous Govardhan Govardhan Puja feast. And then in the afternoon, maybe a little rest, but at least cleaning up time. And then, as we are doing now, in the afternoon and evening, then we will begin, like inaugurate the Govardhan Parikrama. And this we start from Srila Gurudev's lotus feet at his Pushpa Samadhi, and then come to Anugiriraj, take the permission of Gurudev and Anugiriraj before starting. And we generally come to Manasi Ganga and the immediate area of Manasi Ganga today. And then tomorrow, if we're there in person, we'll be going further afield down to basically to Govinda Kunda side. So, Marj, let's see how we get on. But I would also just like to mention and say that Srila Gurudev's Pushpa Samadhi is in Govardhan, but the devotees almost unanimously feel, especially the devotees who knew Gurudev personally, you can say, almost unanimously they feel, here is Gurudev in Govardhan, and his murti came very wonderfully there, and the mood, the feel, the presence of Gurudev is felt very much there by all of the devotees. So really, we do end up kind of talking to Gurudev and giving him news and asking him things too. And there at the Pushpa Samadhi. But of course, we're starting the parikrama, and so we always will be going to Gurudev, explaining what we're doing, taking his permission. And we do that until today. We come in front of Gurudev, give our full obeisances. Usually the devotees are already chanting. Then just a few minutes, we introduce Gurudev and tell Gurudev what's happening, show him the devotees in front of him. And then we will start our kirtan and do a once parikrama around the Pushpa Samadhi, and with the kirtan come in front of the deity of Anugiriraj in the main temple. And often this is from not necessarily going inside, but the giant, huge front gate to the temple. And then from there, we take permission from Giriraj and continue. So, Marj, I think we just have introduced all the devotees, the pilgrims, to Srila Gurudev at his Pushpa Samadhi. So I suggest that we chant Panchatattva and then 2 or 3 Hare Krishna Maha Mantras to take us to Manasi Ganga, to the well, as we go there, the left-hand shore. I suppose that's the southern, it's more or less square. So the left-hand side would be the southern side, wouldn't it? The southern side of the Kund, where there are steps going down. And let us chant Hare Krishna until there, and then we will all be together on the steps of Manasi Ganga. This is my suggestion, Maharaj.
Yes.
So over to the Gupta Govardhan Kirtan group, and we will join you with our microphones off.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhar Sukasami Govata Govinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
And Maharaj, as we've come here, we also just have to fill in a big gap that we missed at the very beginning. That is, we must say, Jai Srila Gurudev Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj Srila Bhakti Rokhok Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Our Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga ki Jai. And to all of the assembled devotees ki Jai. And with our obeisances to each other, may we begin, Maharaj. So, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And now we have come to Manasi Ganga. We have made very clear where our heads are. We are engaged in the parikrama to please Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Saraswati Thakur, and in the mood of service, visit the holy places around Govardhan Hill. So we've come to Manasi Ganga, and here we are. There's a photograph of Manasi Ganga. We have come to Manasi Ganga. We're on the opposite side from generally what's the final point when the devotees do parikrama of Govardhan Hill, which is Mukharavinda, the temple that we see there in the photograph, the temple on the right side with the dome. That's Mukharavinda. But we are beside the Manasi Ganga, and I think now we ask humbly to Srila Goswami Maharaj. Here we've come to the Ganga at Govardhan Hill. Please let us know how the Ganga came, or whatever you'd like to say to us here, Maharaj.
Well, I would like to hear you explain what is the meaning of Mukh Aravinda.
Well, all I know,
Maharaj, we know it means lotus mouth.
Okay, this is what I was going to say. All I know is that when the tradition, as it is at the present day at least, is when the devotees finish their parikrama, they feed Govardhan Hill. And we are told that Srila Saraswati Thakur identified this temple as the mouth of Govardhan. Now, we also know there's Annakut Ksetra, which we will come to later. Krishna can eat with any part of his body, and as a mountain, he's already extraordinary. But this, we understand, is the place that Srila Saraswati Thakur said is indeed the mouth of Govardhan. And so very traditionally, devotees come and offer him some coconut, some fruit here at the conclusion of the parikrama.
On that note, you remind me of the Brahma Sangita sloka. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti pashanti panti kalyam jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govinda mari purusham tamaham bhajami. So there, in fact, not only, of course, Giriraj Govardhan, but we're told all of Krishna's senses are interchangeable. Each sense can perform the function of the others. And incidentally, the Swarup of the Jivas have the same capacity, being the anshas of Krishna. So it opens up infinite possibility for seva and exchange. But so, in fact, when we place the offering, the bhog, before Krishna, by seeing he can take, by hearing the songs he can take, in so many ways. That is his sweet will. And by his mercy, the prasadam is manifest. So, and just to the point that you make about Srila Saraswati Thakur and Mukh Aravinda, Guru Maharaj will remind us, Govardhan, the representation of Krishna, not only is Krishna, Radha Kund, Radharani. And as we heard the other day, when after Krishna made the Shama Kunda and got all the holy rivers that there are ever to assemble there, and their waters to pour in, and sort of challenged Radharani from your side, and we hear the Braja Gopis, where there was a hoof gouge in the earth from Arista, And their gopis with their bare hands, within an hour, built this even more beautiful kund. And when Krishna say, oh, the waters from it, no, 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 your waters are contaminated. They brought the waters of Manasi Ganga for her kunda. And then, of course, the representative of the personification of the other holy rivers asked for Srimati Radharani to be merciful to them and fulfill their ultimate aspiration for her service. And she allowed them to flow into Radha Kunda as well. But please tell us, no, there we go. Hare Krishna.
This is Radha Kunda and Shyama Kunda, this aerial photo here.
Yes. Hare Krishna. And Maharaj, tell us more.
So now we are in approximately the center of Govardhan Hill. It's long and it's told to be in the shape of a peacock. And we're more or less in the center. And we may think, well, how is it that his mouth is in the center? Because it's understood the peacock has his head tucked in. So this way, his neck of the peacock is around. So this answers that question when we get kind of logical questions. How is it possible? Anyhow, lots of things are not possible. So what we can say, I mean, what I've heard here, and Maharaj can correct us and say whether it's a wrong story that we've heard, but we do hear this year by year, that is that in one of Krishna's Leelas, then a demon decided that he'll come as a calf into the assembly because he'll then be able to get close to Krishna as a calf. Yeah. And so the demon infiltrated the inner circle of Krishna, as it were, thinking that, oh, if I get close to Krishna, then I'll be able to kill him. One of the demons who could take whatever form he wanted. They were very powerful, deputed by Kamsa. And anyhow, Krishna could understand, because he is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if anyone's missing that point, and he's the Supreme Lord and he knows everything, and so he could recognize that the calf had come. And so Krishna, he understood this, and then he came and then he battled with the calf and killed the calf, and then he's heroic again, just like he was heroic with Aristasura, the bull. But then again, the residents of Vrindavan, they all said, oh, Krishna, you've killed a calf, you've killed a cow. So now you're going to have to go and bathe in the river Ganges. And he again protested. It wasn't a calf, it was a demon in the shape of a calf. So this way, anyway, he was then deputed, oh, you have to go and bathe in the Ganges. But nobody wanted him to go, including Nanda Maharaj, Mother Jashoda. What, our son's going to leave Vrindavan to go to a distant place to the Ganges to bathe? And so Krishna came up with the plan that, okay, I'll call Ganga Mai, I'll call the Ganges to come here, and I'll make a kund right here. And so he made there and then the kund of Manasi Ganga, the hole, and then he called the Ganges to come. And then we hear that the cowherd men and everybody, they're all looking on and thinking, is this really the Ganges has come in? This little talkative boy is saying many things. And then Ganga Devi personified, then she, the Ganga Devi herself, the personality of the Ganges, then she appeared from the Ganges, and then everybody understood, okay, the Ganges is here. Now, this is, and then we've, of course, heard many different stories about the pastimes that take place on Manasi Ganga, crossing the hill from one side to the other, etc. So the Ganges there in Govardhan, that Manasi Ganga is considered as even more purifying, but more special because of the special leelas of Krishna that took place there, that he manifested the Ganga himself, and that the pastimes that took place, the loving pastimes, between the highest section of the devotees and the Lord himself there. And now Maharaj can let us know what we should be saying.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That, I believe that demon's name was Vatsasura. Vatsa means calf. So Vatsasura, yes. Maharaj, lead us to our next destination.
All right, and just before we go, then generally somebody, often Paramananda Prabhu, goes down to the water and takes the gong upside down, fills it with water, and then liberally, mercifully sprays everybody with lots of, if you're close to him, lots of Ganga water from Manasi Ganga. Anyhow, everybody comes giving their obeisances and taking water on their head. So Maharaj, we can follow in the footsteps of, as we know, the Brajavasis, the local people, when they would come to do the Govardhan Parikrama, they would generally start at Manasi Ganga, and in the presence, when Srila Sanatana Goswami was present, then they would come to Sanatana Goswami to inaugurate their Govardhan Parikrama. And just for those who haven't been there, not aware, our temple, it's only one block, as it were, away from the actual Parakram path of Govardhan Hill. And practically the nearest place when you come to the Parakram path from our temple, which means it's just like, I don't know, 300 meters or something from door to the, or not even that, 200 meters, 220 meters I'll go for. Okay, from the gate of our temple to the Parakram path, and then practically the very nearest place on the Parakram path is Manasi Ganga, where the Parikrama begins and, as we mentioned, ends traditionally. But on the other side from where we are, where we first come to the Manasi Ganga, on the other side then is the Bhajan Kutir of Sanatana Goswami, where the Brajavasis would come and they'd come and have his darshan, and then he would sometimes lead them when he was younger on the Parikrama, but in the later years he would start them on their Parikrama and then they will continue around Govardhan Hill. And we do know this because also the year that Sanatana Goswami passed away, then it was the Guru Purnima, the actual biggest day until today, it seems, the traditional day, that particular full moon. Then the Brajavasis come, do Parikrama of Govardhan Hill. And it was on that day they came to Sanatana Goswami to start their Parikrama. But it was on that day that Sanatana Goswami disappeared from this world. So in different ways, we have some record of this tradition of starting Parikrama at Manasi Ganga, and specifically at what's known as Chakalesh, or just opposite Chakaleshwar Shiv, called Chakratirtha, there on the opposite side of Manasi Ganga. So we can go there, Maharaj, and begin there if this approves with you, and we can have two Mahamantras, just two Mahamantras to take us around the side on Parikrama of Manasi Ganga.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And so we've come to Chakratirtha, which is on the banks of the Manasi Ganga, and we've come around the temple of Chakaleshwar Shiv and come to the Bhajan Kutir of Sanatana Goswami, to his Bhajan Kutir. We can do Parikrama there, and we can stand or sit in front and make a little asan for Srila Goswami Maharaj, give our obeisances, put some donation when we go to a holy place. Always we put some donation for the honor of, in this case, Sanatana Goswami, then another donation when we go to the Shiva temple. And we are not thinking about what's going to happen to the donation. We are giving donation to the Lord and to the devotees. It is our duty. All right, and so we can be seated here, and
Hare Krishna.
Goswami Maharaj, we ask Your Holiness.
What would you like me to speak about? Sanatana Goswami Prabhu.
Sanatana Goswami, we did speak about recently, but other things that you may wish to say. I mean, we know that he used to do parikrama of Govardhan Hill. We heard daily until he was quite aged. Maharaj,
Yes.
the context you may like to talk about.
Well, I'm just reminded of, as you say, he's leading sometimes those parikramas and doing full Govardhan parikrama and Brajamandal, and we hear, but particularly with regard to the Govardhan parikrama, as he became aged, back to our Seva Kunj temple and the Radha Damodar temple nearby, they show this one footprint of Krishna. We're told in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, this famous, Tejo Vari Madam Yata Vinimayo Yatratra Shargo Mersha, mystical sloka, and Jiva Goswami extracting from there some very mystical interpretations. One of which Guru Maharaj will say is that it's in relation to Krishna Lila, the opposites, that the soft things are becoming stunned and becoming frozen, and the what we would generally consider hard, like stone, is melting. And so we're told this particular part of Govardhan Hill was, as we heard in the verse on the gopis, Hantaya Madra Labala Haridasa Bharja Yad Ramakrishna Charana, the Charana of Rama and Krishna, their lotus feet, Charana, Sparasha Pramoda, at the touch of the lotus feet, pramod, that Govardhan is becoming happy, more than happy, ecstatic, to what point? In this instance, melting in ecstasy. So at the touch of the lotus feet of Krishna, and that footprint is there, and that's and on display and darshan at Radha Damodar temple. And we're told, as legend would have it, that as Sanatana Goswami Prabhu aged, that this was some special mercy from Krishna. He said, if you'll just go around this, that will be equal to full Govardhan Parikrama. So, of course, as we've heard this, and many others have heard this, then they flock to the Radha Damodar temple every day. I mean, we worship those who are traversing the divine soil of Vrindavan. But Guru Maharaj likes quality of, how do you say, adherence. When they asked him about these months, or the Chatur Masya, someone who does this for this time, there are many versions of that. If you'll do this on this day or during this period, and how do you say, calculating benefit. Srila Guru Maharaj does not like that approach. This word calculation is not a word that sits well with him. He even refers to the Vaikuntha world, saying there's some element of calculation there. Raga Bhakti means no calculation, no personal consideration. Das Kori Beton Mori Deho Das Kori Beton Mori Deho Premadan. Beton means salary. What he's saying, let prem be, if I'm to get anything from this, let it be increased love and affection. And then if we say, oh, by your seva capital investment, some interest has come. And Guru Maharaj introduced the modern kind of compound interest, saying the devotee doesn't take that for enjoyment, but thinks, oh, some interest has come, increase my serving capital, expand the serving capital. So we should not think of Sanatana Goswami's Prabhu's activities, or any of the Goswami's activities, as some sort of, what was the right word to say? calculative performance, anticipating some kind of benefit or reward, but it's on account of the condition of their hearts that with great relish and joy, they're doing these things. And for that group, when they do make some kind of a vow, that's another thing in their realm. So anyway, he was doing that. And as Madhusudan Maharaj knows very well, many people flock to the Radha Damodar temple who all have also heard these things. And they realize, oh, if we will do that, and then we'll achieve the full Govardhan Parikrama. Oh, there we are. Hare Krishna. That's the lotus footprint of Krishna, rather grand, extensive, and yeah. So, and that Sanatana Goswami, he's the Bhakti Siddhanta Acharya. One thing we're told there that perhaps in Chakaleshwar, the mosquitoes are coming, and really, when we hear these things, it's almost inconceivable, because we think, or we like to think, that the higher devotees, they should be exempt from all of these things. Like, how can this be part of it? But Guru Maharaj will say, that's also telling, right? That Banshidas Babaji Maharaj in his final days, some sort of bodily, disturbance coming to him, and he's telling everyone, see, this is your Vaishnava? You think higher? To say that we should not think that because of participation in Krishna consciousness, that we'll somehow be exempt from adhyatmic, adibhotik, adidevik, ultimately, but not in the external world. Remember, Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, on his way to be with Mahaprabhu, got from bathing in impure waters, some skin condition, but then how does Mahaprabhu respond to that? Sanatan's recoiling and not wanting Mahaprabhu to embrace him, thinking of this condition. Mahaprabhu is embracing him, and he says, he uses this statement, chatu sam, which means 4 different, like sandalwood, rose water, different divine fragrances. And he's saying, your body is divine to me. There's nothing that could ever be repulsive about you to me. And it's compared to like the mother and the child, that section. So anyway, that's Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, very much disturbed by the mosquito section. And as Guru Maharaj called them, I told that story, and the first major Gaur Purnima festival we had in Navadip, Srila Gurudev was very worried about mosquito nets coming on time. And one afternoon they arrived, and I was there with Srila Guru Maharaj, and he came, and he was so relieved. And Srila Gurudev said to Srila Guru Maharaj, he said, now everyone will be happy, finally, And Guru Maharaj said with deadpan, he said, but the mosquito section, they will not be happy. So the mosquito section, giving too much trouble to Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, and we're told he's going to leave that place. And it's also associated with Mahadev Shiva. And of course, he wants him to stay because it's divine. He's not there in just some sort of representation. He is there. He does not want Sanatana Goswami Prabhu to leave, neither do the local people. So Mahadev Shiva, by his Shivic ways, eliminates them all to keep the association of Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, who is the leader of the 6 Goswamis, although in Bhagavatamritam, he indicates he's a Rupa Nuga. Still, Rupa accepts Sanatan as guru, even though it's the Rupa Nuga line, and still Rupa Goswami, accepting Sanatan, and all of them accepting Sanatan Goswami Prabhu as the leader. Sambandha Jnana Charja means understanding relationship. Just like on a GPS, if you want to get to a particular destination, we need to know where you are at present, right? So you put in that, say, I want to go here. Where are you now? Now I'm here. Then what comes, the means, you'll do this, and then you'll go this way, and then you'll go that way, and then you might even make a U-turn. There's so many things that you'll do to get to that destination. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Prayojan's the goal. Where are you now? That's why Sanatana Goswami Prabhu is so important. We hear so many divine things and then want to go running that way or jump on, like Guru said, plodding in the mud of misunderstanding, thinking we're swimming in the divine waters of Radha Kunda, right? That's Sloka 11, as Madhusudan Maharaj likes to remind us in his Back to Bhakti Basics program. Sloka number 1, Vacho Vegam Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam Udaropasta Vegam, Etan Veganye Rishaheta Dira Sarvam Apimam Pritivim Sashishyat. That Sarvam Apimam Pritivim Sashishyat, it can be interpreted in different ways. It means if you will do this, then it is as if the world is disciple, like under control. If you, Vacho Vegam, Manasakro, etc. So that is in the teachings of Rupa Goswami, which Srila Guru Maharaj said, really, he said, interestingly, he said, Mahaprabhu is saying different things at different times. We know there's Shikshastakam, but every now and then, like he says some sort of sloka or something. And the way Guru Maharaj says, Rupa Goswami collecting that, collecting another one, collecting one here and there. And so he says, really, Upadeshamrita is Mahaprabhu through Rupa Goswami. But all those things Rupa collected from Mahaprabhu. But, so if Prayojan Tattva, Raghunath Das Goswami, he's the one saying, as we heard in the sloka earlier, the target is Radha Dasyam, the service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. So that is the goal. Where? In Govardhan. Guru Maharaj will say, our gurus, our Guru live in Govardhan, go to Kusum Sarovara to collect flowers, go serve the superior gurus in Radha Kunda, and return to Govardhan. That is the situation. So now we understand. Radha Kunda, that seva there. So where are you at present? This is very important. If we don't identify where we are, and that means being honest about what our position is, not giving some false coordinate, then you're not going to get the proper help. We have to be brutally honest with ourselves where we are at present. Sanatana Goswami has a program for us, mercifully, where, you know, and Mahaprabhu Ramananda, Stane Stita Shrutikatam Tanuvan Manobir, very beautiful, Brahma Sloka. It's so hopeful. This one line, he said, Stane Stita means wherever you are, whatever time it is, whatever place you are, whatever stage of life you are, if you begin hearing from these Krishna-loving devotees, and take their affectionate guidance, then you can go toward and achieve this destination. So that's why in the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, where Guru Maharaj was saying, Upadeshamritam, Vaikuntas, Janito, Bara, Madhupuri, saying, in one leap, Rupa Goswami goes from Vaikuntha to Mathura. Understanding, like, in the sense, I mean, just for the sake of this conversation, you know, Ayodhya would have been on the way, Vaikuntha, Mathura. Right. Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, Bhakti Siddhanta Acharya, Prayojan Tattva Acharya, step by step by step by step, incrementally taking to that divine domain, but showing each stage, each step, and why one is considered superior to the other. And just to conclude with this, that his book concludes twice in a similar way, culminating in this sloka, asamaho charanreno jushama hangshang, vrindavane kimapi gomilato sadinam, yad dushtajam swajanamarjapatam chahitba, bejur mukunda parivim, shrutibir vimrigram. Same. What the Vedas are searching for, these teenage girls, like Guru said, the half-civilized jungle girls, the Braja Gopis, that's their posing. We know in Gaura Lila, Jiva Goswami, greatest philosopher, they write all these books on. But in Vrindavan, this is their posing, saying what the Vedas can only point in the direction of, or what they themselves are trying to achieve. These girls, they've crossed beyond that. They have in their possession Krishna, Radharani and the Braja Gopis. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Krishna is the property of Radharani and her friends, the Sakis and their assistant. They own Krishna, copyright, trademark, everything. Only they can give Krishna. So Sanatana Goswami proved by quoting that verse of Uddhava, where he's saying, my aspiration, after seeing Vrindavan, visiting Vrindavan, and eyewitness observation of the unparalleled devotion of Srimati Radharani and her friends and their assistants, then my only aspiration is as a creeper, a blade of grass, an atomic presence in that plane. I told when we visited Uchagaon, and the children sometimes attach themselves to us, you know, our group when you're visiting. But interesting there, I have to say to their credit, they didn't ask for anything. And some, we know in the more popular areas, they just attached, you know, like wanted to be with us as we went around. It was very sweet. And that's when I asked this one little girl what her name was. And she said, you know, Brajalata. I'm like, oh, so what Uddhava was saying, if I could be a Brajalata, that's what Uddhava's prayer is. And this little girl, Brajalata, Hare Krishna, Jai Brajalata. She's achieved that position. So that's what he's saying. If I get an atomic presence in that plane when they're moving in the plane of divine service, Radha Padmankitadam Vrindavan Jaranam, the holy lotus feet of Radharani embellishing the soil of Vrindavan. Some of the dust will come upon me, Abhishek. That's his idea of an Abhishek, to be bathed in the dust of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani and the Braja Gopis, thereby consecrating his existence. So that's sort of the regulator sloka from Uddhava near the conclusion of part 1 of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and then again the Loka Mahatmyam part 2. Hare Krishna. Yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So Maharaj here will take Sanatana Goswami Prabhu's permission, and also we take Shiva's permission, a Chakaleshwar Shiva here. Yeah. And he's one of, I believe, 7 Shivas who, or manifestations of Shiva, who guard the Dham. And so he's here as a guardian of the Dham, and we need 4. Oh, okay. Okay, 1 of 4. That's fine by me. That's less to remember.
Because where are the other 3? Is Gopeshwar,
Chakaleshwar, Bhuteshwar.
Yes, all right. All right, our crack research team is on it right now. Continue, Maharaj.
Okay, anyhow, we will ask, we need all the blessings we can get, or I do, so I think
That's
we'll...
right. Gurudev said about there was this one lady in Calcutta who she would be seen like giving dandavats and bowing down in different places, and sometimes just stones, like, you know, and someone said, Didi, what are you doing? And she said, one of them might be Shiva, you know. So.
So Maharaj, yeah, so giving obeisances to Chakaleshwar Shiva with a very loud bell that everyone always clangs, and then from there, then we start, Maharaj, and we can start to go down to Dhanagati, and then we can continue along the Parikrama path. And here we have a bell, a quiet bell in Gupta Govardhan. Yeah, almost Gupta bell compared with...
It's a Gupta bell.
Almost. So Maharaj, we can go down and then start along the Parikrama path, and as we go up the hill towards Dhanagati, we turn left, go along here to the soft path, I think we can say that, and then perhaps we can stop there. We'll have seen Dhanagati, we'll have passed by there, and we'll be in an area called the Annakut Ksetra before Aniora. So perhaps 2 Mahamantras to keep us going, because we need the holy name to keep our feet moving on Parikrama.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we're on a fine dusty, soft, beautiful section of the Parikrama path, and we'll come under a tree, under the shade of a tree, and we'll just hear for a moment or two at least about this area just a little bit before we reach the village, the first village on the Parikrama, which is called Aniora. Ah, look at some Vaishnavas' footprints in the dust there. Wonderful. And as we are stopped and under the shade of the tree, we'll hear this area before Aniora. It is told that as the offerings were made to Govardhan Hill, here in this area, so many offerings were made. And the cowherd men, all the items that were for sacrifice for Indra, that were going to be offered to Indra, then this is taking place in this area. And the village which we're just about to come to, that village is called Aniora, which we are told in Sanskrit, because I definitely don't know Sanskrit, means give me more, give me more. And it's told that the hill Giriraj, Govardhan, personified himself and put out an arm and is calling, give me more, give me more. And so it was a great joy for all of the pilgrims and all of the Brajabasis to come. Okay, we give more, we give more. And so making offerings to Govardhan Hill in this area, then Aniora village, and that just a little bit after Aniora village, we'll come to Govinda Kunda, which is the principal stop, if you like, the very first principal stop on the way of the Parikrama. And Maharaj, would you like to say something here?
I think that you covered it.
And we do remind ourselves here that we are following in the dust and the footsteps of many countless great souls who've done parikrama of Govardhan Hill, including, as you pointed out earlier, Krishna himself. Maybe this morning you mentioned that Krishna himself did parikrama of Govardhan Hill. And
Yes,
Mahaprabhu.
with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I just remember, because you're talking mentioning dust and just the Gurudev being a transcendental humorist, sometimes devotees are expressing different symptoms in Govardhan there, and they're coughing and saying it's so dusty here. Particular time, I forget, those winds have a name. The hot wind that comes, and we seen that the local men, they can do construction. They just put some kind of a cloth like this, and yes, they're like that, and they're, when everyone else is hiding inside, they're outside, and this man is like dancing and throwing bricks up to the other man who catches the brick, and they're like dancing and doing construction, no problem. But all the devotees are coughing, many. And Srila Gurudev started saying, but you were praying. I heard you. You were singing these songs, praying to be blessed by the dust of Vrindavan. And now it has come to you.
Jai Gurudev for giving everybody encouragement on the parikrama.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
so even in that minute, he gave them something to think about and be happy about and see it from another perspective, we shall say.
Indeed. All right, Mar. So a brief stop under the tree, a little bit of relax for the legs or rejuvenation for the legs, and reminder what we're doing with each step. So let us come through the village of Aniora and out the other side and on to Govinda Kunda. So another 2 Mahamantras, kindly, from the devotees.
Yes.
And so coming to Govinda Kunda, we'll come to the chief of the Pandavas there and deal with one person at Govinda Kunda, one Panda, who is an elderly, respectable Brahmana there, and he controls the others. So we try to keep him happy, and he gives a little protection so we can have a peaceful life at Govinda Kunda. So we come to Govinda Kunda, we come to the Kund part and come down and take water on our head. And again, maybe Paramananda Prabhu or Keshavananda Prabhu, one of the devotees, will scoop up water and give it to those who are further back or who are a little cautious about slipping and falling in, as happens. And then we can just come up from Govinda Kunda and then come around to a small temple, which is told to be beside the tree under which Madhavendra Puri sat, and where he was doing some bhajan, and there he had the dream about Gopal etc. So this is the location that they say it is on the southern, it's a square kund, more or less on the southern part of that kunda. Yes, this is the tree. Yes, that is the place on Govinda Kunda. And there is a small temple there of Gopal, of course not the Gopal, but of Gopal, and we happily give our respect there. And there an area for us to sit and to hear about Govinda Kunda, about Govardhan Hill, about Madhavendra Puri, about Gopal, etc. And a happy stop for us.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj.
Yes, yes. So that the placement of the description of this pastime in the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamritam is significant, because really, if we think, there's the Chaitanya Bhagavat, right? Vrindavan Das Thakur is the biographer, generally of Chaitanya Lila, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. But if we look at the work as a whole, we see the Adi Lila is very extensive. That means from birth up to taking sannyas. Then after taking sannyas, it ends almost abruptly. And we told the other day about Pundarik Vidyanidhi being questioning the practices there, being slapped by Jagannath and Balabhadra. And that's the final chapter. And when you read that, you get the impression that, whether in Sanskrit or Bengali, it would say like, to be continued. You really get this feeling there's more to be told. And Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying that in different places. Other Vyas in the future. That's why Gurudev and his poetry called Kaviraj Goswami, the Chana Vyas, the hidden one. Right? So you can understand Vrindavan Das Thakur is giving some indication. These pastimes are unlimited, and they will be expressed in the future. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is repeatedly saying that, giving full honor and obeisances to Vrindavan Das Thakur, and saying he's the biographer of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. If he's described something, there's no need for me to do that. What would be my reason for doing that? And in fact, that would be a transgression of etiquette. So he said, but in some places where he's not described something and there's more detail, he's very humbly making the case for the presentation of Chaitanya Charitamritam. But really, it's not just pastimes that were not included or some details that were left out. We know he's revealing the inner reason for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in his work, there's the reverse, is that the Adi Lila, the birth pastimes and early pastimes up to sannyas, they're only really given in a summary form. And it's really two, so Adi Lila and Shesh Lila, means the final pastimes. So it's the Shesh Lila that occupy the bulk of the Chaitanya Charitamritam, and that begins with the sannyas. And Shesh Lila is divided into two sections, Madhya and Antya, the middle and the final. But so that means that the Madhya Lila, that's really where what Kaviraj Goswami wants us to give our attention to and what he wants to reveal, it starts coming out there. And that means we know first chapter, and he's also thinking, as we hear in different places where he'll say, remember, he's in Radha Kunda in his 90s. By this, Das Goswami has left the world. He was in his 80s already, transfers everything to Kaviraj Goswami. He's in his 90s, mid 90s or so, arthritic, legally blind. He cannot understand himself what's passing through, what he's writing. He's saying, Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan is moving my hand and expressing these things. Right? Really, it's also, it's his qualification to be that medium, but he's humbly expressing that way. So the reason I mention that is he doesn't know how this is going to turn out. We take these things for granted, so much so that we think like everyone knows how the pastime plays out. They do not. Remember, Yogamaya induces a particular condition where they don't know that Krishna will escape from the clutches of Kaliya. It's not like someone saying, don't worry, I know how this ends. I've read the Bhagavatam, it's gonna be okay. It's not like that. They're fainting on the shore. They're like, that because that's under the influence of Yogamaya to intensify the emotions, right? So Kaviraj Goswami is saying earnestly, he doesn't know if he's going to be alive to complete this. Right? So, and the reason I'm mentioning that is, so in the Madhya Lila, which is where now he's going to tell you what was not revealed in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he gives it in summary form in Madhya, the beginning of the Madhya Lila. And Srila Gurudev, I think it's Madhya 2, he knew all those verses. He would sometimes sing them, he could recite them. This is it. So he's thinking, and if I don't live to express these things fully, then I need to, right here now, in one chapter, tell you what you need to know about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So all those beautiful slokas are there, unparalleled beauty, and Guru Maharaj would quote them, and Gurudev as well. But so then, having done that, then now he's going to give it in the more expanded form. So it begins with the sannyas of Mahaprabhu, and then where is the very first place that he goes on his way? Remember, he Kahan Krishna Prananath Murali Badan Kahan Karun Kahan Pan Brajendra Nandan. He's searching for Krishna. He takes sannyas and he's madly going searching for Krishna, but it's not like he cannot escape the pull of the love and affection in the hearts of his devotees. So he's kind of going around in a circle, and then hears that, oh, Krishna is in, it's Jagannath in Puri. So, then go there. Remember, when he sees Jagannath, he sees Shama Sundar Krishna. So on the way, it's not just happenstance or coincidental or peripheral, but the first place that he goes on the way there is Remuna. Right? And what is the story there is as heard by from Ishwarapuri, who's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Then so the plot thickens. And you say, didn't we hear in the Adi Leela about the Chaitanya tree, and the Prem Ankur and the sprout from the tree of Madhavendra Puri, and then in the Mahaprabhu, now we're here. Oh, and his connection with Ishwara Puri, who's a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Oh, now he's saying, I heard this from my Guru Maharaj. And Nityananda Prabhu, they're all who's also disciple, right, of Madhavendra Puri. So then suddenly this Madhavendra Puri is becoming central to the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Not peripheral, anecdotal, central. And we're hearing about the glories of Madhavendra Puri. And so then we can think, so, and what do we hear first? That he's madly wandering in Krishna Prem, that he is taking Krishna Nam, and if someone gives him something, he takes. If not, he's happily taking Krishna Nam, and he comes to this area under some divine inspiration, right? And some ladies in the village, they know there's this sannyasi, at least according to the story of one local cowherd boy, right? So he comes, this Gopal, which, is a type, Gopal Balak, and he comes with a pot of milk and says, some of the ladies nearby saw and thought you may be fasting, and actually in this, no one fasts here. Right? That's against the rules. We thought, no, I thought fasting is part of the rules. He's saying here, fasting is against the rules. So they sent me with this milk for you. You please accept this. I'll be back. I have some cow herding to do and other cow herd type activities. But Madhavendra Puri taking that, and also like, this is extraordinary. And we know that he has a dream in the evening, and then he realizes, oh, Krishna himself has come to me. And what do we hear in the dream? That there's a verse that Gurudev also knew, where Gopal in the Kunja, in the bushes, that's where he is, in the jungle, Kunja by any other name. He's saying, I've been waiting for you, Madhavapuri, to come and rescue me and resume the seva. Right? So he realizes the boy from the village was Krishna, this milk is some divine substance, and Gopal, the deity of Bajranga, Krishna's grandson, has been there they was hidden there under for safety purposes, but for a long time. And so he approaches the local simple-hearted folks, and they, following Gopal's direction, they go and find him, and he's all covered and I guess the dust of Vrindavan and the elements of Vrindavan, and he's very heavy, and they get all these strong men, they carry him and clean his divine form, and then they have this beautiful Abhishek atop Govardhan, at this point atop Govardhan Hill, right? And they make a makeshift temple there from two, like one stone this way, another one that way, put Gopal there. Madhavendra Puri oversees everything, and they're putting so much oil on Gopal's body, making him shine with this beautiful sheen and effulgence. And he inaugurates the Annakut, like we observe today, the offering of mountains of prasadam, of bhog, to Gopal. And everyone is so happy to participate and offer their resources that he has to create a schedule. Like this village on this day, that village, there'll be Wednesday, your village, there'll be Friday, and also people from Mathura and everyone's coming. They hear about this extraordinary deity who's Govardhanadhari, he's in the lifting position, right? And now known as Srinathji and Natadwar. Paramananda Prabhu knows the history of that, how the transfer took place. But the point I want to make is that, so everything's going very nicely. I like to say this too, that consider, you're in Govardhan, you're in Vrindavan, Govardhan, right? Govinda Kunda, all these things. And still Madhavendra Puri brings 2 Bengalis for the Seva Puja. So they bring must have 2 Bengalis. 2 Bengalis come and they can do it. There's just something divine in their spiritual DNA that, because I was thinking, like, there's so many people there. Why didn't he just have them do it? But it says in the text, 2 Bengalis come. So at least 1 Bengali you can spare. 1 Bengali we're asking. So anyway, so then Gopal, and this goes on for like 2 years. The Seva Puja there going on beautifully. Gopal's storehouse just increasing unlimitedly. And then Gopal appears to him in a dream and saying, everything's going really well, but I mean, you would think that my temperature would be reduced by now, not. And so I need you to get some camphor, some sandalwood pulp and camphor, and a rather large amount, around like, what is it, 40 kilos of sandalwood, and so much camphor to go with that. And remember, Madhavendra Puri walks everywhere he goes. Maybe sometimes going on bullock cart for, if it's available or something, but basically walking everywhere. And you think, from Govardhan, and he needs to go to Orissa, to Puri, to get this first class sandalwood and the camphor, and just happily accepts that. He's elderly. This would be taxing for anyone, and just he couldn't be happier about it. Right? So he makes his way there, and where does he stop on his way? But Remuna, where there's a deity named Gopinath. At that point, his name was Gopinath. Over here, Sriman Rasarasarangbe Bangchibatatastita Karshan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinatha Sriyestuna. So, like devotees do, we say, they go to someplace and say, oh, how nicely the Seva Puja is going on here. They're inquiring, what do you do for, oh, we do this type thing, that, and they say, oh, there's always thinking like how to improve. And he sees that this deity, they offer kheer to what, 12 pots? 12 pots of kheer. And kheer is like condensed milk, extremely condensed milk. Amrita Keli, like this nectarine, divine substance. And he sees this offering, he's saying, oh, I should find out how they make this kheer. We can introduce that in Gopal Seva when I return to Govardhan. But then after some time, he's thinking, and this is what Guru Maharaj calls Atma Samiksha, self-analysis. Devotees always examining themselves. What are their motives? Is it self-assertion, self-establishment, pratishta, or some other reason, or a mixture of this kind of devotees? I call it the uncertainty principle. That devotees this line, must learn to live with the uncertainty of never knowing whether they're actually devotees or not. And as support, that's there in the Braja Gopis, the chapters that will come after the one we read today, with Kritva Mukanyava Sucha Swasanena Sushat Bimba Dharani Charnena Bhuva Likantya Asre Upasha Matipi Kunchukum Kumani Tushtur Mrjanta Uruduka Bara Smatushnim. The tears falling from the eyes of the Braja Gopis when Krishna rejects them. They hear his flute song, like that Karshan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopi Nata Sri, and they're answering the flute song of Krishna, call of Krishna, and then Krishna rejects them and says, this is inappropriate and you should go home. And we're told they're thinking, they know Krishna is controlled by prem and they're being rejected. So they think, we have no prem, we have no real love for Krishna. And this whole thing that we're Braja Gopis and the best of it is all a fraud. We're not real devotees. We don't have any real devotion. And the proof of that is Krishna's rejecting us. And so they bow their heads and we're told their tears come down and it's the most pathetic scene imaginable, but they do not go home. They do not, that's one order they're not going to follow. And Gomer says, quoting Madhavendra Puri, if you can accept it, you have no devote after whatever you feel you've invested in Krishna consciousness, you have nothing, you're not a devotee and all that. He said, but you do not go. You seek no other shelter. You believe there's nothing else worthy of your pursuit. He said, then you might just be a devotee. So Madhavendra Puri, what is he thinking? He's Madhavendra Puri. You know, and what is he thinking? Oh, I'm saying that it's for Gopal, but actually, Vacho Vegam Manasakrodava, it's this tongue. I on the plea of seva for Gopal, which would sound, you know, wonderful and devotional, really, I want to enjoy that. This is the kind of despicable man I am. Hare Krishna, some cure being shown there. And so he's left with this kind of feeling and, you know, taking Krishna Nam and just disgusted with himself. And he goes to sleep that night and that Gopinath appears to the Pujari in a dream and tells that Pujari, there is a great devotee of mine here named Madhava Puri. That's how he's described. And he said, I stole one pot of kheer for him and you can find it under my garment. And please, you take it to him. And it shows how beautiful is the heart of Krishna. Like he sees how his devotees, they're just suffering, you know, thinking he's a despicable person. Krishna just cannot allow that or tolerate, you know, it's just breaking his heart, melting it. So he has got to show that that's not true. So that Pujari, and what are we talking, you know, he's a Pujari, you know, first he's got to bathe, you know, and do different things. Then go, you know, Utista, or anyway, you know. And he's like, see, looks, you know, there's Gopinath, and then he looks to see, oh, there's a pot of kheer. How I missed that before, you know. Takes the kheer, and then he goes outside and he goes, is there a sannyasi named Madhava Puri? Madhava Puri, is there a sannyasi by that name? You know, Gopinath has stolen this kheer for you. So when, like, Krishna is already glorious as Gopinath, But you could say here, when he becomes Kirchor Gopinath, and add the glorification of his devotee, even more glorious. That's the way he likes it. Sri Krishna Karshini Chasa, that he's attracted to the pramic heart of the devotees. So, and that Madhavendra Puri, what does he do? We're told like, what does he say? Tadiyanam Samarjanam, right? Aradhanam nam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Sasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam. That which in relation or dear to Krishna is also worshipable. He worships the pot that held the cure. So we're told that he cleans everything. He's not, that pot is divine as far as he breaks it up, carries it around in a pot, and we're told he takes a piece of that every day. But in the dead of night, whereas, how did you say, that newly recruited newly recruited devotees want to make an ostentatious display of devotional achievement, voyeuristically envisioning themselves as super servitors. Pratishta by name. They want that. We want that. Some reputation for having devotion, being a devotee. The great devotees running from that. Running from Madhavendra Puri thinking like, by the time the sun rises, the word gets out that like, people are going to become taking dust. Like he doesn't, he's running in the dead of night to escape Pratishta, right? But as Ramananda tells Mahaprabhu, there is no greater fame than being reputed to have devotion, what to speak of Krishna Prem. By the time he reaches Puri, they know, they've heard, when he's saying, I just came to get sandalwood for Govinda. Take all of our sandalwood. How much do you need? Camphor, like they're giving him all the papers and the stamps and everything. And he's making it through. So he's carrying 40 kilos of sandalwood pulp and so much camphor, and now heading back. And he comes to Remuna on the way back. And while there, Gopal appears to him a third time in a dream and saying, really, Gopinath and I, same, but different, but same, achintya beda bed. If you will put all the sandalwood and the camphor on Gopinath, I'll get relief. Because again, Krishna, after all this, then make Madhavendra Puri carry 40 kilos of chandan back to Govardhan, which he will happily do. But Krishna said, no, you give, and the servitors of Gopinath are very happy. They love it, and so, but this is, see, it sounds wonderful. It is wonderful, beyond wonderful. But again, I'm saying, why is this story being told by Mahaprabhu at this time? Right? Remember, so there, what do you have to do to release the essence of the sandalwood? Rubbing, like this gradual transformation takes place. Guru Maharaj called self-dissipation. Then, having told this story, Mahaprabhu, he's turning to Nityananda and saying, is there anyone more, can we imagine anyone more fortunate than Madhavendra Puri? Right? Then he said, and in his final days, on his disappearance bed, remember, that's how Ishwara Puri got this special grace, by demonstrating the greatest magnitude of eagerness and appreciation for the least aspect of seva by the caring for Madhavendra Puri in his final days. So at that time that this sloka appeared from Madhavendra Puri just before leaving the world, that is said to come originally from the heart of Srimati Radharani and then through Madhavendra Puri. And what is said there, it's described as the supreme sloka of rasa kavya, means of rasa poetry. The supreme, the Kaustuba, as the Kaustuba gem is the supreme gem on the chest of Krishna, this is the supreme, the Kaustuba gem of rasa kavya slokas. And what are we told? Just as by taking sandalwood and that process of repeatedly, that releases more and more of the fragrance, the aroma, the essence, the substance of that, by repeated consideration of the inner meaning, the depth of this sloka. Everything divine, the path with regard to separation is revealed in saying that only Radharani, Madhavendra Puri, and Mahaprabhu can relish the meaning of the sloka. Not a fourth man is to be found. But we should factor in, but Mahaprabhu means also Rupanuga line. We should not think that they cannot appreciate that. Gurudev told me, he said, Guru Maharaj revealed to him. And he said, I'm not telling. But before he left, he said, he said, I'll tell you this much. There are two key words, deen and doya. Like in the needy position and mercy, right? So, ai dina dayadranatha he maturanatha kadava lakshase. What is the next line? Hridayam katram alokam katram. Pardon me? Dvaita brahmani kim karomyaham. It's deceptively simple, and we're not now going to try and explain that. We're told not a fourth man can understand. But basically, Srimati Radharani Madhavendra Puri Mahaprabhu was saying, it's to Mathuranath, means Krishna's left Vrindavan. Without seeing you, without having your darshan, if I have no hopes of seeing you again, then how can I go on in my life? Back to that second chapter with everything in it. No prema gandasti drapi mehuro. What to speak of a drop? I don't have a scent of the fragrance of Krishna prema. What to speak of a drop of that divine substance? So always in the hankering position, Baihe Vishajalahoy Betore Anandamoy Krishna prema Adbhuta Charit. The Adbhut Charit, the astonishing characteristic of Krishna prema, particularly in separation, is that externally, the devotee is suffering as if from being poisoned by cobra venom. And internally, Guru Maharaj said, they're relishing some strange, peculiar nectarine substance. And as Gurudev would say, what is Mahaprabhu's tasting matter? Quoting Rupa Goswami, Pida bir navakala kuta katuta garbhasya nirvasano. Same thing about being poisoned. He said, simultaneously, suffering the effects of cobra venom while being bathed in a extraordinary shower of nectar. These two things, he said, where does that come from? Separation. What are the pastimes of Mahaprabhu about? Rath Yatra, celebrate, where separation has reached its zenith point. What happens when Mahaprabhu goes behind closed doors with Swarup Damodar and Ramananda? The Uddhava Darshan, Brahma Gita, the separation. And so Gurudev, somebody said, even, the animals in this world, they can understand the joys of union, but who can understand the peculiar joy that comes from cultivating separation? That is unknown to human civilization in this world. But that is the tasting matter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is the culmination of this pastime. All of this is about Madhavendra Puri and Gopal, the Kirator, Gopinath, and what does it do? Bring us to the point where Madhavendra Puri is leaving the world, and this sloka comes from him, from his, like the moon ascending in the sky, illuminating everything, that he's echoing these sentiments that were originally from the heart of Srimati Radharani. And that Mahaprabhu is relishing. And this is on the way to Jagannath Puri. So this gives us an indication, more than an indication, what is the substance of Gaur Leela as being revealed by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, that is the program for today.
That is the program for today, yes.
Hari Harai Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Harai Namo Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Garadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Echai Gochai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhista Puran. Echai Gochai Dharmui Tarodas. Kansabada Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tandara Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. Did I forget one verse? The Echai Goshai Jar Mui Tarodas. I did it, okay. The Echai Goshai Jabe Braje Koilovas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Kori Lo Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Harinam Sankirtan Koe Narotamodan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo.
Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaura Hari Bo.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jai Sri Brajamandal Parikrama Ki Jai, Sri Govardhan Puja Ki Jai, Sri Annakut Mahotsav Ki Jai, Sri Govinda Kunda Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharya Sutara Sada Sri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Govinda Kunda Ki Jai. Sri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishwa Varenya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Vimalavadut Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai. Sannyasi Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Sri Paramananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Bhakti Lalita Devi Ki Jai. Gaur Nataraj Prabhu Ki Jai. Malika Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Seva Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And to all those celebrating Govardhan Puja all over the world, there in Vila Govinda's Madhusudan Maharaj, the celebration will continue. The Tonks Temple in Siberia, Dandavat, all the devotees there. Kalendi Priya here, and Chiang Mai, and not Chiang, but in Thailand, Dandavat, Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu, Dandavat. There's the Sringara, the dressing of Radha Govinda Sundar Mahaprabhu supplied by Chaitanya Nitai Prabhu. And on this very special day of Govardhan Puja, we're very grateful and appreciative of that. Jai Sri Hari Prabhu in Brazil, Dandavat Bhaktabandhu Das in Philippines, Dandavat Alexi in Russia, Dandavat Dibya Shakti Didi, Dandavat Chaitanya Moyi and Dhananjay Prabhu in Roma, Dandavat Vrinda Devidasi in Nizhny Novgorod, Dandavat Kumkum Dasi, Dandavat in the heart of Silicon Valley, worshipping Mahaprabhu. Sri Lekha Didi, Dandavat. Suresh Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat. Jai Srivad Bhakti Asrai Dandi Maharaj, Dandavat. Keshavananda Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Oh, I didn't see, he was there. London, presumably. But
maybe not.
Carrying Vrindavan in his heart. Hare Krishna Jai. And there's Bhakti Sevan Rishikesh Maharaj with Yashodanandan Prabhu, Taruni Didi, and all the devotees and Navazia, Banavi Didi and Rama Dandavat, Alokananda Didi and Laviv Dandavat, Rajalatika and Ors Dandavat, Rasananda and Sochi Dandavat, Lila Sundar and Kiev Dandavat, Ashapurna Didi Dandavat, Hare Krishna, Somya Sham Prabhu and Ors. Dandavat, Hare Krishna. Raga Lekha Didi Dandavat, Hare Krishna. Ajita Krishna Prabhu Dandavat, Yuvati Semeshwar and Kalindi Dandavat, Madhavilata and Odessa Dandavat, Odarja Leela, and who's with her and Anjali. Dandavat, hey Krishna. Praneshri Didi Dandavat, Anantashesh Prabhu in Spain, our Dandavats to you. Tungarasa Didi Dandavat, and at Govinda land, Nirupama Didi Dandavat, Bhaktadas Prabhu Dandavat, with little Kumari, Aviram Prabhu Dandavat, Indumukhi Dandavat, Hare Krishna, Narayani Dandavat, Odarja Leela Dandavat, Sankarshan Prabhu Dandavat, Nityananda Das here Dandavat, Jamuna here, Sulakshana here doing Chinese translation, Biroja Dandavat, Das Anudas, 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 Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayo, Dasa Das Anudasa. But Dhananjay Prabhu in Russia, Indumukhi was in China, Narayani was in the Ukraine, right? Rasananda in Kiev, Ajitasha, Hare Krishna. 108, Ira, which is the name of the goddess of fortune, Saraswati. Madhu Chanda and Ukraine Dandavat, Nikita Alta in Russia, Leela Shakti Didi, Renuka, Kamala Dandavat, Harimati in Ukraine Dandavat, Shanti Mohi Dandavat, Jaganmata Didi Dandavat. Is that
Kamalini just for a second.
Kamalini just for a second, Dandavat. Ek.
Oh, there she is.
Lavamatra Sadhu Sange Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Hare Krishna. Oh, there she is. I see. Yes. Hare Krishna. All right. So that's everyone, I believe.
108.
Yes. So 108 dandavats to everyone. And we say, Bancha Kalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. To all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna. And the celebration of Govardhan Puja worldwide. How beautiful is that? When one boy from England, a little boy, he heard that Guru Maharaj started the Chaitanya Saraswat Mat with 2 Giriraj Govardhans. He turned to his mother and said, "How wonderful!" Hare Krishna.
Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bo Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Looking forward to meeting you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Means Govardhan Ashram of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math. Srila Sridhar Swami Seva Ashram means on Zoom here, because we'll be there via Sri Gupta Govardhan in Thailand. See you tomorrow. Have a special day. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Haribo. Ashchi, we are coming.
What the Bengali say is, I'm coming. I will come again.